Hi there everybody, my name is Kate and welcome to my channel, Trinergy Awakens Naturally. This is Honda. We are slopping and bopping our way up the road, man, but I wanted to talk to you about a few things. We're on our way camping because I had an all of a sudden impromptu, spontaneous, got to get the hell out of here kind of moment this morning, and it's been culminating. So the last video I made, I said at the end of it, I was going hiking yesterday with my Poochie and a whole bunch of elders in spirit, in the skinless realms, however you look at that, the unskinned, because I've been experiencing a lot of rub-ups with different parts of personalities in myself and with other people, and anxiety, fear, nausea, I mean all kinds of weird symptoms and a lot of behaviors that I don't generally exhibit anymore, but hey, we were ready to take another tour of the onion, okay? So not a problem. I kind of already knew, because I was already there, that yesterday when I went for my hike, when we went for our hike, Hondo's a working dog too. He's getting his downloads, I'm sure, to be able to cope with me. Very gracious young dog here, very gracious indeed. So anyway, what I got when I was hiking, I've been dealing with feeling anxiety a little bit, and a lot of it. It just depends on what the situation was. So I had several opportunities to get very overwhelmed with anxiety, which I really just don't have an issue with too much anymore. So when it comes up, I know, ah shit, this is something big, because that's a huge 144, thank you. That's a huge indicator. That's not a pink flag, baby. That just flew right into red flag, or it's approaching that. If I already feel that sense of like, real extreme anxiety, and it was bordering on panic, just right there. So yeah, we skipped over pink and went to maroon and a straight red pretty quickly on the flag coloration, and I couldn't understand why, and I was feeling just a low level of anxiousness. Dude, please give me a little bit of room here. He's feeling some too. He doesn't like the car, but anyway, I was feeling just generalized, all right, you gotta go. I was feeling just generalized anxiousness just for a couple of days and couldn't figure it out. And so when I went for the hike yesterday, what the download was, is there's a very fine nuance and a fine distinction in that nuance for me, and what I was given in between having abject fear about something and anxiety about something. Anxiety, this is outside of whatever Webster's might say, or whatever, a conventional understanding might be. This is my understanding, and this download that was given to me is that anxiety is on the spectrum. It's the precursor to fear and panic. Like it goes from anxiousness to anxiety to panic to straight up fear, and yeah, fear, fright, and oh my God, I can't deal with this. And so when someone asked me, am I afraid of something, because that's what I was feeling when I was walking yesterday, is, are you afraid of something? And that was an interesting question to me, of, am I actually feeling fear? The, oh my God, I'm panicked, I want to run, I want to dart out of the car, I want to, just take really evasive action, I gotta, jump now, eject, nothing like that. It wasn't at that level that I was hiking yesterday. It was absolutely that way several times in interactions with people that I don't know very well. That is where I got with it. And because there was no threat level midnight for I'm getting ready to lose my life, then that was a pretty big over-the-top reaction that I had to what was going on. And so obviously this is triggered, and I need to figure out what that's about, because I have a couple of things I need to do. I need to find that little child in me that is terrified, and then figure out why is she terrified, so that we can pull her out of that, aw shit situation where she clearly feels very threatened to the point that she wants to run and take evasive action. That's a pretty terrified little child. Now, it doesn't take a whole lot for that terrified little child to get started. Children are easily spooked, and so this is something that I felt like I needed to handle myself very carefully, that I didn't allow myself to be any more terrified than I felt. That I lost touch with my adult, the terrified 2-year-old or whatever isn't going to drive home very safely or speak very maturely, and might start, getting very childish out here all the way. And so It was a matter of staying connected enough to, okay, I need to end this conversation. I need to stop what I'm doing. I need to go home and begin the comfort of this part of me that doesn't understand what's going on. I was feeling confusion, intermittent, like, I just don't understand. And when I feel fear along with the confusion, I'm usually frightened as hell because I'm confused about what's going on. And now that's pretty common for children that are being given information that doesn't make any sense. I don't understand it now, looking back, 50 years, there's stuff that, it's still ridiculous. It's just I have more of an ability to understand the ridiculosity. I have more of an ability and more maturity in having come across stupid shit for my whole life that, that's some stupid shit right there. That's some dumb shit right there. At 2 or 3 or 4, whatever age that little child is, there was no frame of reference for that other than, I don't understand, this doesn't make sense, and, I don't know what to do with it. Now I know exactly what to do with it is, nope, I don't do that, get lost, I already took that part of the trash out, no thanks, but there was some littering happening yesterday, that I needed to deal with, but it still triggered that little part of me. And so the conversation while I was hiking yesterday was about, anxiety, the nuance between just feeling anxiety and the pricklings, the fight or flight response is being suggested that we be suspicious of this, where the anxiety in the very beginnings really is throwing the pink flag down, at least, or possibly pale pink, baby pink maybe, of I'm hearing something in the conversation, I'm feeling something in the scene here, I'm seeing something that is really catching my eye and making me feel very uncomfortable with the situation. I'm starting to smell something funny about this, that and I pay very careful attention to those, and the speed that it approached the anxiety all the way to was rapid fire, and that took me by surprise. But anyway, it did, and I did make it out of that conversation, that situation, without completely losing my mind. However, it made me cry in the midst, and I just said, I gotta go. I need to go and wrap up in my whoopee blanket, hug my dog, hug my cats, and get right the F out of here. I gotta go. And so I did, and that helped immensely. But the nuance between how fast it takes to get from that anxiety point up to a fear point, we're going to make our worst decisions from the anxiety, whatever level it starts at, to the fear point. We're going to start making our worst decisions right when the first pink flag is thrown, and then it's going to get exponentially worse up to the we're ready to panic and jump out of a moving car. So my point in this is in understanding the difference between anxiety and fear. I really wasn't afraid of anything in that moment. I wasn't, as my adult self, afraid of anything because I'm a grown-ass woman and I know how to operate in the world. I live by myself and independently, and I'm cool, so I don't wait for other people to do much of anything for me, that I rely on. If they say they're going to do something and they come through, cool, that's great, that's awesome. And I also don't put stuff into the hands of other people that really is important to me, because that's just not the way I roll right at the moment. I don't feel comfortable doing that, nice to know that I could in the future sometime, or that there are people around me, cool. However, it's still ultimately my responsibility, if I want to have the greatest odds of making sure that that which is most important to me is handled with the utmost care, then I'll take care of that myself, because I know what kind of care I give to my stuff and my things and my life, and I don't need anybody else to have that level of concern for my life, because that's oftentimes called codependency. So it's a very fine line of what we put out and where, and to whom we give it, and to what level of responsibility we're willing to give away. So I understood all of that, yet this was still that little part of me, and so it became fear in that moment that I'm living with, I'm observing this within me, and yet that part of me is panicking, and I'm losing rapidly my ability to stay connected to my adult self, that break away fast here, gotta go and eject, and separate, jettison immediately. And that helped immensely, which is something I did not used to do in the past. I didn't even understand when pink flags were being thrown down. They usually had to be the, I'm now terrified, before I picked up on it. So I'm glad that I have, the finer nuances of understanding that and getting out of toxic relationships that were constantly tapping me. I never knew when I was relaxed, because I never was. And so it becomes very obvious to see, those finer nuances when they're coming early. But what I also got on my hike that I found was quite interesting is that anxiety rides along in the same vein sometimes, or at least for me, it seems that it can feel, nervousness or anxiety. And the very beginning of feeling that can also be anxiousness, which is not the same thing as anxiety in my body. And I don't know what the Webster's definition is to declare which one is which over the other, whatever, how it moves. But I do know that in my body, if I'm anxious about something, not anxious about something, I'm not having anxiousness as in anxiety, that's a very different feeling. However, it's a very much an energetic stimulation or an innervation of those nerve endings where I feel that tingly something. And yet when I'm anxious about something in a very positive way, when I worked through that download yesterday of here's the nuance of how that spectrum works from here to here, when I was working through that, at the end of that, I started feeling my heart really opening up and understanding that, okay, here's another finer nuance where sometimes, Kate, you're experiencing something that in those what could be perceived as pink flag moments, that's actually some anxiousness about, oh cool, this is really exciting, I'm looking forward to this, like a little kid, and that not everywhere in my body is going to be innervated 1111, thank you, the same way at the same time. However, that can sit in here and in the pit of my stomach. Anxiousness and the we can sit there a little bit, but because they ride so closely, I realize that sometimes I'm feeling that sense of like we, that I'm calling it anxiety because it sits there in my body kind of ill-defined of what was that. I just assumed I'm nervous about something, and then my heart rate kind of goes up. And what happens with, when our heart rate goes up, our brain latches on and goes, oh no, I have something to panic about, and then it starts panicking, so we feed into our own flat spin. And so that was a beautiful nuance to get to finally, because I really did not feel good about those interactions, those experiences that I was having, some with people, some without, some flashbacks and stuff, and I wasn't feeling good about them. And yet deep within me, I very much know that I feel very anxious about life on a regular basis, about just the excitement of and joy of living, being alive, and being fortunate enough to be alive, and that same zeal and enthusiasm can often be riding in the same part of my body or a similar part of my body, or somewhere else in my body that just feels strange, that that's not truly anxiety. And if you can catch a hold of, is that in fact a pink flag that you're feeling? If it is, then let's deal with that and move it out. However, if it's not a pink flag, it's just a, hey, we're flying the red flag, the white flag, if we just need your attention, to pay attention to that part of your body, what is that? Then that's nuanced even further for me to declare, hey, I'm feeling actual anxious, I'm not nervous, I'm feeling the perhaps twitchy energy of, yeah, this is just really exciting, and it's opening up new neural pathways in me because I am excited about my life. I don't spend all my time being upset or in bothersome situations. However, I think I was very much shutting down quite a number of situations where I could just be experiencing the, wow, this is really cool, because I assumed I was nervous about something and took myself down a road unnecessarily because I wasn't identifying correctly that it is all based on the nervous system. And yet how we handle our nervous system really makes a difference about how that's going to lock in and be remembered by the major master of our nervous system, our brain, and the programming that we're giving our mind. Our mind is already programmed, and most of us, that have spent our time deprogramming, we don't want to reprogram with something that isn't a whole lot better. And so, especially if we bothered to get out of codependent and toxic relationships or dynamics where power differentials were abused and things like that, we're really, we would serve ourselves better. I believe, I know I would, that I serve myself much better to make sure that, is that in fact anxiety that you're nervous about this, or is this something you're just needing to distinguish that, hey, you're seeing something that's really cool, it's waking up some place inside of you that's been quite dead for a minute or two, or is that truly anxiety? And noticing what is that's to be anxious about, and go into that conversation also came up. They go into the conversation of what is that and what is it about. When I was having those flying through at light speed from anxiety straight up to panic and fear, abject fear, there wasn't a whole lot of time to interview any of it. It was separate from this. We got a 911 on this, and screw whatever this is about. I got to evacuate. There's life and limb here. We're triaging to nope, gotta bounce, which is very different than having the idea of, okay, I don't need to, evacuate immediately. However, I do need to be interviewing this part of me of what is that is causing some anxiety or approaching what you might think is fear. Is there actually something to be afraid of? Or is this just tapping a part of you that's saying, hey, I don't really know how to do this. Can we, work through this with me? And speak with that part internally of, I got this, we'll talk about this at home, but right now, we're cool, we're good to go. Or is that in fact a threat even out there? There's many different nuances and very many different ways that we can go with things. It's a matter, most of the time, for me anyway, of making sure that I've got a hold of the neurology aspect so that it doesn't get the biology involved, and then I've got a whole full body experience of panic attack involved where I'm hyperventilating then, and then I'm losing my ability to reason and think, with all the oxygen that I need, all the extra that I need, especially if it's a stressful situation. So I hope that's been helpful to you in some way. We are on our way, as I said, to go camping, to defragment, and this helps immensely for me to be able to, just put some words on it and take those moments that feel very, icky gray, if not totally dark and black, they feel super gray and smudged. Take those moments and use those for some sort of educational point that might help another person. At a minimum, it helps me to better understand myself, and it helps another person. Then that's beautiful. That's a good thing. That's what alchemy is all about, is taking those things that we have that, that's not worth a whole lot to me, as just that lump in my stomach or that lump in my throat or that, pounding of my heart. It's not really serviceable or useful to me. Then how about I find a way that it is, that I can use this experience, learn from it, and get to the point, alchemize it by turn that to gold with, oh, I've seen this before, I know how to do this, I'm cool. Because anxiety most of the time is about, I've never been in this situation before and I don't really know what this is brand new and I'm not sure how to handle this, or I have seen this in some version or another before and it sucked and I got hurt, or I lost, or whatever it is. So it's pretty much, in my life anyway, narrowed down to I either have no experience with this and I'm feeling the anxiety of, I'm just new at this, I don't know how to do it, or I'm feeling the anxiety of, I have done this and I didn't do it right the last million times that I did. So how do I stand in that new place of, we're going to do it right now, we're going to do it correctly now, even if it's sloppy, even if it's not, the best, we're going to speak authentically, we're going to use that voice and move through those blocks by, if we have to, separate immediately, and I'll go talk to myself, my team, my everything in me, and then deal with that some other way with that person, with that situation, with that memory, with that whatever. But that's where the alchemy comes from. Turning that monster stuff into gold means that we figure out what it is that was the problem to begin with, so that we know how to fix that, deal with it, and move that. That's the true turning it to gold, is turn it into something I can use. So and I can't use a lump of garbage that's already been used a million times, so that doesn't work very well. So anyway, as I said, I hope you enjoy your day, no matter what part of the day you're in. We're going to be enjoying our camping experience on the lake, and we're going to be getting within our skin. So get within your skin too, because you're divine. It is absolutely fine, and you know what you're doing every single time, even if we don't human it out here as well as we want to, or have as much finesse or grace. It's fine. We're not supposed to. How would we know until we do it a few times and become quite familiar with that process? So have a good day, take care of yourselves, and I will see you again. Goodbye, my friends.